on the road again. We can't wait to get on the road again. Telling stories to our family and our friends. We can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. We can't wait to get on the road again. Telling stories to our friends. We can't wait to get on the road again.
Welcome to our monthly AAA podcast, Affinity, Allie, and Annette on the road to good storytelling with your host, Allie Spooner and moi.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I write with Affinity, and I work in a variety of different genres. And I am very pleased that you're joining us today. We have several good books to talk about, in particular one today. We hope that you enjoy the reading that we're bringing forth and really get to know our new debut author, Miss Lori, and looking forward to it. And we hope that you will visit the Affinity Rainbow site and order some books and support your local authors.
And I'm Annette Maury, also with Affinity Rainbow Publications. All three of us are Affinity authors. And gosh, I counted my books, and now I have, with the latest one out, 38 published novels. So, and also in a variety of different genres.
All right, so each month we invite a special guest or guest to join us as we discuss various topics of interest to writers and readers. We invite our guests to do a short reading, and then we drill them with questions afterwards.
And this month we'll be talking about police procedural thrillers. Everyone loves sapphic police officers. We're excited to have debut author LJ Reynolds join us today to talk about her debut novel, Noble Intentions, released worldwide just about 7 days ago, March 1st. So it's live right now.
All right. Following our podcast, we'll upload to a newly created YouTube channel, and we hope you consider subscribing so you never miss a future podcast.
I have the pleasure of introducing LJ. LJ is a retired police officer from the state of California. In her spare time, LJ is an avid reader and loves to spend time with family and friends, enjoying a good glass of wine or taking trips in the RV. Born and raised in Central California, LJ currently lives in the state of Arizona with her wife, Bee. They have 2 children, a son and a daughter, and 2 grandchildren.
All right. So without further ado, Miss Lori, now you can start your reading. Good luck.
Okay, here it goes. This is Noble Intentions, and her heart pounded so fast she thought it was going to jump out of her chest like a lion taken down its helpless prey. At 13 years old, she heard the police informing her dad that her mom was dead, potentially because of a drunk driver. She didn't know what a drunk driver was. She stood next to her dad, wide-eyed and paralyzed, as he embraced her. She could smell the shoe polish and leather of his work shoes on his hands. Polishing his shoes was a nightly ritual after dinner. But tonight was different. Mom was late coming home. She was at a meeting, so he cooked dinner. The officer awkwardly handed her a teddy bear, while the other updated her father on what had happened. Unforeseen tragedy had struck, defying all expectations. Particularly distressing was the fact that her dad was the police chief. The sound of a cabinet drawer slamming brought Noble back to the present. Standing outside the door, Noble took a deep breath and another moment to gather herself. In any tragic event, she knew it was her job to make every victim know she was there for them, no matter their age. She didn't want anyone to feel like she had that night many years ago. Her job was to help them overcome their trauma and offer any help they might need. Remember, Noble, help this young victim as that officer helped you back when you were 13. At the time, Noble knew they usually gave teddy bears to small children, but that they gave her one was something she would never forget, or the officer who gave it to her. She still had it in a box in her garage. Before entering the quiet room, she knocked. The room earned its name because it was where they brought and interviewed young victims. It had stuffed animals, coloring books, dolls, and puzzles. These items assisted officers and detectives in helping young victims feel comfortable enough to talk about what had happened to them. Noble used her personal experience and the training she had received from the department to build a special bond with all the young victims she encountered throughout her career. She had the uncanny ability to connect with them on their level and with their permission. Noble made eye contact with the woman she assumed was the mother, who stared back at her, eyes wide open, biting her lower lip as though it was her last grip on sanity. Noble glanced at the girl, who was holding a pencil hard enough to turn the edges of her fingers white. She observed the girl slowly pick at the eraser, watching intently as each pink scrap fell to the floor around her feet. Noble sat carefully beside her. Her mother finally seemed to soften, giving her a slight smile. "Hey," she greeted. "My name is Noble Gentry." The girl lifted her head, her tired, pale blue eyes finally meeting Noble's. "Most people know me as Noble, or Gentry, as my boss calls me. I'm the detective who got assigned to your case." The girl seemed to consider that momentarily, then kicked at a piece of eraser with her foot before she answered. "What kind of name is Noble?" Noble kept her eyes on the girl, sensing her mother stiffening behind her. Her voice was tight and low as she corrected her daughter. "Jessie Alexandra Williams." The girl instantly lowered her eyes and nodded. "Sorry, I think it's neat, but I never heard it used for someone's name." Noble smiled at the first hint of connection flashed between them. "That's okay. I get that reaction a lot."
Good job. Okay, so we're really delighted that you decided to join us today. And my first question is, could you share your inspiration for Noble Intentions?
Well, I always heard from writers and friends who are writers, write what you know. One of my most coveted assignments that I worked in my 19-year career was in sex crimes. So I wanted to cover that and hopefully cover it as well as I could and not bring any harm to any victims who might per se read this. It threw in a little bit of homicide, which is my ode to when I was 6 years old and wanted to become a police officer. I wanted to be a homicide detective. No, I do not like looking at dead bodies. So in that, I decided to throw a little bit of that in and come up with some names that I thought were very notable for law enforcement, for a female officer, as I wanted very strong characters. So out of that, my thought process, which was all over the map, Noble was born. And Noble was not the original name.
Well, what was the original name?
There were two, actually. The first one was Keegan, and the second one was Finley. And I just wasn't 100% sure, but when I don't even know how I ran across the name Noble, and I saw it and I said, that is it. I knew that is it, because it is a noble profession.
Yes, it is.
So I went with that and love it. I love the name.
I do too. I thought it was perfect name.
And it fits the character so perfectly.
It does.
Yes. I thought so
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. We see more and more people, more and more posts that are asking about police procedural novels lately. Do you think this is evolving as a popular subgenre for the sapphic literature? And if so, why do you think it's so interesting?
I think it is. I think it's always kind of been there, but maybe with a younger reading crowd coming in, it's picking up again. But who doesn't love a woman in uniform?
Amen to that. Yeah.
Just saying. And it gives those people whose minds maybe work a little faster something to work on to try and solve a puzzle, a puzzle as a reading, as well as if there's a romance in it. Not all will have that romantic element, but I think it stimulates the brain. Can I figure it out? Can I be as good as a cop? Can I do this? I always wanted to do this, but I wasn't sure. And I think it's just an element, and it's all women in uniform. That could be military, that could be EMS personnel, nurses, doctors, private eyes. I just think it's something different, and it adds an element to a book.
Yeah, police procedurals often have a mystery element to them, which is kind of nice. They're not cozy mysteries, they're a different kind of mystery. But yeah, there's definitely some mystery in here and some twists and turns for sure. We know that your background uniquely positioned you to write this police procedural novel, but can you tell us if you had to do any additional research, or what other kind of research did you have to do that to fill it out even more in areas that maybe you weren't quite, or did you lean on some other experts for certain parts of the novel?
I did. I leaned on my wife, who was a different rank. She promoted all the way up to the rank of deputy chief. My career was majorly in detectives, and I did a little bit of patrol. So I wanted to get the aspect of what a supervisor would do. Maybe if there's a mobile command unit, what is the criteria? Because as a detective, I never, in sex crimes, never really had a mobile command unit that we responded to per se, because if we were already active out there, we were out in the field. So utilizing her to make sure I got it right is key, because at the end of the day, I want to make sure it's as realistic as possible, and don't have anybody question it per se.
Yeah, good.
Um, People often tell us, write what you know, and it's obvious you know quite a bit about writing police procedurals. But do you see yourself writing outside of in a different genre in the future?
Maybe my next two books will be law enforcement based. I would be open to the idea of writing something different. Will that happen? I don't know. I don't know if I would do maybe per se a cozy mystery. I know it's still within that genre a little, but that is interesting to me. World building could be interesting also, because you get to make your rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Allie and I have talked about we like speculative fiction because yeah, you can just write whatever stuff. You can make up whatever shit you want to make up,
Right?
and it's
Yeah.
fine.
Right. And no one can
Yeah.
question it because you know the answer.
Exactly.
Right. Right. It's your world. Yeah. Well, I'm impressed that you've got two books planned already. Is it going to be a series or is it new characters?
Well, they're all new characters, but it's within the police department, the same police department that Noble works. So OnServe Police Department.
Okay.
So yes, it's one is the second one, the main character is a detective and the other main character is a nurse. And then in my third one, if it goes right, it would be a civilian employee within the law enforcement and then another detective.
Nice. And so, do
Okay.
you have actual words on paper?
I do.
Woo!
For my next book, my next working book title that I have is called Unwavering Valor. And my lead is Valor Talbot, and the other lead would be Quincy Bishop. And I think I have about 3,000 words so far. So it's in the beginning. So I've got to get to work.
Yeah, because how long did this one take you? How long did Noble Intentions take? You started writing that how many years ago?
A lifetime. I started writing it when I went out on light duty as a police officer. I started writing it back in, I believe it was 2011 or 12. So 12, I retired, and I started writing, and I had a plan. Plans change. I did some things that really threw off my thought process to where I realized my brain doesn't work that way. So I'm more of a linear thinker, A to Z, kind of like a police report. You start it, the middle, and the end. And I didn't do that. And that really got me out of sorts, to say. But then I got it back. But then it took a while because I was working a part-time job after I retired from the police department. So that job I ended up leaving, and was able to really delve into this and get it done, which I was excited about.
Well, we're excited to hear that you've already started and have a little bit going on that. So have you helped other authors with their research on police procedures? I know your wife has. She's helped me. Or even just details for their novel that involve certain things that would make it more realistic. Because we get a lot wrong, don't we? Authors that are not in the police world.
Some do. Some you could see the effort that they take to try and get it right. I have been asked. The first thing you want to make sure is, because I know California, I know the area that I worked might be different than Northern California regulations and rules, but not the penal code, which is the same in the state of California. So if someone's writing something in Milwaukee, I usually suggest, well, have you maybe gone in and contacted somebody to get some insight? They might not be able to give you some things for safety reasons, but they could give you a general idea, or look at pictures on their website and you could see what they use. Maybe look at the inside of their car and see what their dash looks like with their computer, their shotgun, where it's at. So you get it right if it's from that area. Mm-hmm. The biggest mistake I've seen is handguns, people putting an external safety on a handgun that per se does not have an external safety. Mm. So you want to make sure you kind of get that right, because if someone reads that knows guns, they're going to say, oh, well, what else isn't right in this book? Yeah. So it's simple things that you could probably find on the internet if you searched, especially the type of weapon you're going to be using. Right. Anything else, the internet is your oyster pretty much right now for writing anything. You should be able to find what you need. If not, reach out. There's everybody, there's tons of writers that can help you on any subject. Yeah, I've done that research, but even then you get some things a little bit wrong. Because I remember when I had you guys look at One Shot at Love, I think it was, because there were guns in that, and I wanted to know about penetrate and what it sounded like and all of those things, and you guys were really helpful with that, because even then you can do research, but it's nice to know that you've been helpful to authors in helping them make their manuscripts a lot more realistic. So we appreciate that. Oh yeah, and we have no problem helping. So even if someone was to reach out now, we would help as much as we could. Yeah.
Well, thank you. What part of police procedures did you find the most compelling in your career?
The collection of evidence. There's a misinformation out there that maybe detectives or special units don't collect evidence. We do collect evidence. It's not just a specialty identification bureau that would come out and do it. When I was first hired, I was fingerprinting cars, doing stuff that later in my career, we had units formed for that. So there's a big misconception on that. So, you'd go out to a call and you'd end up with powder from dusting all over your face and body. And no one would tell you till you went to your next call, you know, and someone's, you know, someone you're contacting is looking at you like, what's wrong with your face? So we did a lot of that stuff when I first came on, and even went into special units did it. So the collection of evidence to me is neat because it's like a puzzle piece. You know, you try and get all your pieces together so you could figure out the crime and figure out the right way it happened. And then a second one would be search warrants. There's a lot of people who say, well, you need to write a search warrant right away. Well, not necessarily. There's certain protocols that if you're chasing a subject and you lose them for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then you're able to triangulate or maybe get where he's at and he's holed up in a house or something, you're not just going to storm the house, because now you have all day if you get him surrounded. So you use your PA system, telephone, and try and call him out. So there's different things, but I always like the collection of evidence the most because I think it's the main parts that kind of help you put those puzzle pieces together. And I always looked at each case kind of like a puzzle. You know, the more information you get, yes, the more pieces you could put together to hopefully complete it and get your arrest.
What kind of challenges did you
Excellent.
run into when you were trying to add romance to this police procedural novel?
Trying to figure out where to put it. You know, I'm writing a thriller, a romantic thriller, but you don't want to have them all Google-eye at each other while, you know, there's a dead body or something, you know. So trying to place it right. And I'm still not sure if I'm a flat out, let's have a sex scene or fade to black. You know, I'm still learning that, what my comfort level is for that. So it's hard because you want to make sure you don't have someone go, oh my God, I can't believe that happened then. You know, but real life is real life. You're going to, you know, real life, you're not going to hold everything in and wait till a case is over. If that's going to happen, you're never going to have a romantic relationship in law enforcement.
Well, if I recall, yours isn't fade to black, but it isn't like super, super, super. It's what? Middle of the road spice, would you say?
Maybe slow burn, I'm
Slow
hoping.
burn, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and maybe if my comfort gets better, it'll go more, or maybe it'll stay the same. I'm not sure. So yeah, it was different to write, you know, and then have people read it, you know. It's different. That was probably the most stressing part of writing, to be honest, is to put that out there.
Oh no, no, you're preaching to the choir. I actually, I've been lately fighting against even including any intimate scenes in my books. I'm like, you know, it's funny because I think Allie might be the same. I don't know. I started out sorta, I was never fade to black. Then I got a little spicier because people were like, oh, we want more spice. And then now I'm like, no, I don't want to write spice. I don't know, Allie, if you're the same, if you sort of went through this like bell curve or whatever, where it's spicier,
Yeah,
spicier, spicier,
definitely. And
and then I don't want to, you know, I don't want to write that much spice anymore. So now I'm like
yeah,
just beyond, not really fade to black, but not much really. And Allie, are
yeah.
you
I
the
mean,
same?
and your characters drive that too, you know.
That's true.
Is this really what your character would want? You know, do they really want to, you know, put everything out there on the floor, so to speak, or, you know, are they more private about their intimacy and, you know,
Very true. Very true.
uh, it does get easier though. If you want to continue to write sex scenes, it does get easier with practice. You know, just stick with it and, you know, reach out and, you know, do some research.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is your first novel. What's the most important lesson that you learned as a brand new author? And would you do anything differently?
It's a learning process, and you're going to learn even after that's done. I just think it's I equate it to the same as law enforcement. You're never going to know it 100%. It's always evolving, and you're always going to learn. And as a writer, you got to learn. You're going to be critiqued and criticized, and learn from it. Don't get mad and walk away. Learn from it. And make it challenging. Say you're not going to get me today, but it is a learning curve. Would I change anything? Yeah, it wouldn't take so long to write it. But just opening your eyes and realizing that you're not going to make your first draft isn't going to be perfect. I consider myself a perfectionist in a lot of things, but I know I'm going to make mistakes, and then you learn from them. I came from a career you couldn't make a lot of mistakes, but have mistakes been made? Absolutely. You learn from them and you go home that day. So I would just say, it's a learning curve.
Well, now that you've got number 1 under your belt, hopefully 2 and 3 will come a lot easier to you. You know what the process looks like. And you've definitely got the excitement. I think you've got, your characters plotted out in your head, and now it's just time to sit down and put them in the computer.
I am hoping, because I was really excited to write this book. Yeah, it took forever, but I was excited to tell their story because I just love the characters, and I hope people love them as well as I, love reading about them as well as I loved writing about them. And I'm trying to pick, unique names and strong women, because we need a lot of strong women in this world right now.
Yes, we do.
And I'm hoping, so I'm excited. I'm excited to get them done.
Will Noble have much of a part in the coming? Sorry, I'm freezing up again.
So I'll ask it for Allie. I think this is where she was going. She wants to know if Noble will have any part in that second novel, right?
Yes, she will. And she will probably be in the third. They're going to be intertwined. I'm not going to say too much more than that, but they will be in it because, one, it's the same department, so good chances they're going to run into each other. But I want them to be able to be kind of a standalone, that if somebody was to pick up book number 2 and go, oh, that's a good book. Is there anything else that she writes? And if they pick up one and go, oh, okay, that's that character, Noble. Okay. So yes, she will be. The short answer, yes.
So I know that you considered many different publishers, and you finally went with Affinity. So what advice would you have for new unpublished authors just starting out, based on your experience on getting a publisher and all of those things?
Never give up. Keep writing. We were told years ago by, I don't know if you ever met her, Amanda Kyle Williams. She has passed.
Yeah. Put
shit on paper. Keep writing. Never give up. If it's your dream, if it's your goal, you can do it. If you're fortunate enough to have someone come along like you came along for me, take them up on it. I learned a lot. I'm sure I will learn more, but I'm hoping my next book will show you that I've grown in what I learned in my first book. But I would say keep going. Look at every company, see what they're going to do for you, what you want them to do for you, what you want to do for them. And pick, start looking at everybody, ask questions. Nothing wrong with asking questions, and nothing wrong with not picking your top 3 that you had or top 10 that you had. But go with what you think is right for you and your book at the end of the day.
Can you share with us a little bit more about your writing experience from start to finish?
Long. I did realize, though, I think a comment that Annette made was that I don't use any contractions. So not realizing that, because my mind is going, when I'm typing, I just type it out as it's going through my head. So learning tricks of the trade. So it was a very long process. And for me, even as a reader, I'm a visual person. So as I'm typing, I can visualize what I'm typing. And that really helps me in my process. And I also need quiet. I can't listen to music. Have I? Yes. But quiet is the best for me to get the most bang for my buck. Quiet time. So it's a long process. And my goal is to start working every day to write, so that process becomes quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And that's, you know,
You just
any
gotta
time
put the
that
shit on paper.
you put the shit on paper, yeah. And any time that I've ever, you know, taken a reasonable amount of time to write a book, it's always been because I've sat my butt in the chair every single day. And even if I only put 500 words down
Yes.
that day, if you do, even if you only do 500 words, you're gonna write a book in what, 6 months maybe, if you only
Yes.
do 500 words a day. If you do 1,000 words a day, you'll likely write a book in 2 or 3 months. So, and 500 words is really not a lot. So it's just sitting your butt in the chair
Mhm.
and putting shit on paper.
Right. And not saying I'm absolutely going to write 2,000
Yeah,
and then you got 1,500 and you're stressing out about it.
Right.
Realistically, not every day is going to be a perfect day, but get what you can down.
Yeah.
Because it's still a writing day and you
Yep.
still get words on paper.
Right.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So based on what you said before,
And it
it's,
helps to have an accountability coach. And
oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, Allie and I do this
yeah,
to each other all the
I
time. When we're
mean,
writing a book together, we're so competitive with each other that we end up writing the book in like 1 or 2 months because she'll write, you know, 2,000 words and I'll go, "Ugh, I gotta write, you know, the next scene and it's gotta be at least, you know, 2,000 words or else I'm not holding up my end of the bargain." And and we'll do it in like she'll send it to me and like 6 hours later I'll send her the next scene. You know, we're just, it's terrible. We're terribly competitive with each other.
I get that from B when she comes home. You did write a lot today, right? I've been gone all day. You told me to leave because you needed quiet time. You got some work done, right? So, yes.
Now you said before that you are very linear. So I'm
Mhm.
guessing we always ask this question, pantser or plotter. I'm guessing you're a plotter, right? You plot everything out. Yeah.
Absolutely. This Panster stuff is why it took so long, I think, because I started writing out of sequence. Everybody I had talked to goes, well, not everybody. Oh, it's easy. If you get this idea, just start writing and go from there. Well, that does not work for my brain. It's very, I guess you could say, regimented. So I had to get back into that. So I'm an A to Z, not A, W, B, you know, none of that. So it's got to be, yes. And so I have kind of an outline. I have it right here, kind of. I could just show you a snippet of the Noble Intentions one because I have the next book down below it and the third book after that and the background. So I kind of do that and then I start a semi little outline, kind of just
Yeah.
a chicken scratch it out. And then it might change. Some of the things that are in Noble Intentions might not have been there at the beginning. Where I started was not where I had my original start. So things do change, but my characters won't. And the theme of what I'm going to try and do won't either.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I think the one advantage of being a plotter versus a pantser is you'll have less problems with plot holes.
Yes. Yes. I don't know how pansters do it. Good for them for being able to do it, but not for me.
Well, our drafts after that, our second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, that's where the pain comes in.
Right. And I could say the best advice I've ever been given was from you, Annette. Listen to your book. Listen to it. You could tell what doesn't make sense and what makes sense. So that was very sound advice that I had never thought about before. So I would say a new author, do that. Listen as you go. If you think you're done, listen through it to see what sounds right and what doesn't.
And you know what? If you had listened to your book
Several times.
Yes.
yeah, several times. If you had listened to your book, the very first draft that you had, you would have heard the stiffness, and you would
Yeah.
have recognized the, oh, I never use contractions. Well,
Right.
people don't talk like that, you know? So that's going to sound really stiff because when you're listening to it, you would have probably picked up on that.
Right. And I think I listened to it, what was it, 4 or 5 times?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and yeah, it was a world of difference. It was very eye-opening.
Yeah.
So thank you for that tidbit.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of work on after the initial book is written, there's a lot more work that goes into it that people I think don't realize. Uh,
Right.
I don't know about other people, but I'm like you, a little OCD, and I will listen the very last proofing, the last phase, I'll
Mhm.
listen to it 5 or 6 times before I let it go out into the
Mhm.
universe.
Right. I agree.
And I think I think you've experienced a little bit of the awe to hear somebody else read your book.
Right. And can I say, and I'm laughing now, I felt going back to the sex scenes, I felt like kind of a voyeur, listening to it, not used to it. It was eye-opening because I don't listen to audiobooks. My wife does. I'm a very visual, so I still read. And to do that, I was sitting there like going, I'm a little uncomfortable here, but I got to do it. I got to power through it. So it was different, but yes, I loved the narrator. I really loved the
Yeah.
voice. She brought them alive, and I loved it. And so did my wife.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, just to let people know, your Audible is not quite out yet, but very, very soon. It's in the review phase for anybody who knows how Audibles work. So, any day now, we expect that to be available. And so I'm sure you'll let folks know when that's available. But yeah, the narrators do, they bring it to life, which is
Yes.
kind of interesting.
Yes, I was excited. Yes.
Al, you have any other questions for LJ?
Nope, I think I'm pretty good. I
LJ, is
appreciate
there
you joining us today. It's been a great pleasure working with you, and it's a fantastic story. Keep writing it.
Thank you. Thank you. It was awesome to be here today.
and is there anything else you want to share with us about any upcoming or anything else that you want to let the folks out there know?
Just that hopefully there'll be a book 2 next year, is what I'm hoping. So I got to get cracking on it, and that I will let them know as soon as the Audible audio book is ready. I do have a lot of questions regarding that. So I'm hoping, like you said, it's in the next couple days to get it out there.
Yep.
And that anybody has a question, you know where to get me on Facebook. You need to send me a personal message, send me a personal message.
Great. Well, thank you again. It was lovely having you. Don't forget to check our YouTube channel out and subscribe. And then next month we will be talking about time travel.
Woo-hoo.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.